بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجمعين.
اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. After 2 weeks of not having class because of a trip to Africa, so alhamdulillah now we have tawfiq to resume. As you remember, we've been discussing the ways to establish the beginning and end of the months of Ramadan and basically the new crescent. The first one was ilm. If someone has knowledge, we said if of course this knowledge is based on ru'ya, someone has himself or herself seen the crescent, we discussed. Then the second option is al-ilmu al-hasilu bit-tawatur. We reached here. If someone has not seen the crescent, the new moon, but many people report that they have seen, to the extent that leaves no chance of this being a lie or a mistake. It's so frequently mentioned. Here fuqaha have discussion. It seems that this would be enough and sufficient, because if you say that the ru'ya of the person himself or herself is needed, then what about someone who is blind? Such person can never see, has to rely on others, or someone who is very weak in vision. So it seems that I don't need to see it myself. It has to be seen, but either by myself or people that I trust. If there is tawatur, then I can trust. Let us see the text. وَأَمَّا كِفَايَةُ التَّوَاتُرِ, adequacy of tawatur, فَلِأَنَّ الرؤية المعتبرة في النصوص لا يقصد بها رؤية كل شخص بنفسه. Because the sighting which is required and is considered to be valid in text is not meant by that every person should see it by himself or herself. وَإِلَّا otherwise فَكَيْفَ بِالْأَعْمَى وَضَعِيفَ الْبَصَرِ. What about someone who is blind or his vision is very weak, cannot see distance? وَكَيْفَ نُوَجِّهُ رِوَايَاتِ الْإِكْتِفَاءِ بِشَهَادَةِ الشَّاهِدَيْنِ. Also, how are you to justify or rationalize the hadith which says if two witnesses who are just, adil, they bear witness, they say we have seen the moon. When two witnesses, they bear witness, you have not seen it yourself, but you rely on bayyina. So what about if many people say, yes, maybe some of these people you don't know, you cannot establish their adalah, but so many people have said that you can be sure. بل المقصود بالرؤية ثبوتها والتواتر طريق جزمي لذلك فتلزم كفايته. Yes, ru'ya is mentioned, but what is meant by ru'ya is that ru'ya should happen, but not necessarily by me. Someone must see the moon, sight the moon. Okay? If there is tawatur, then we can be positive that it has happened. So its adequacy is necessary. So it must be adequate. So if you mean I should do ru'ya, it's a problem. A'ma cannot have ru'ya by himself. And also when there is bayyina, you are not having the ru'ya yourself. If it means that someone should have seen, so cannot be based on calculation, etc. But it can be me or it can be someone that I trust. I have reliable ways to establish that someone has sighted. Okay, inshallah we'll talk about other methods gradually, even about calculations, etc. As-thalith, the third option, al-ilmu al-hasil bish-shi'a'. Shi'a', sha'a yashi'u, means intashara yantashiru. Okay? إن الذين يحبون أن تشيع الفاحشة. That is the same Shia. This is different from Shaya'a, meaning to follow. The root Shia comes from Sha'a Yashi'u, meaning to help and to follow. But here means to spread. Okay. Sometimes there is no tawatur, but it's well spread. Many people say we have seen it. It's not tawatur, but it's Shia. أما الشياع فإن أفاد العلم كفى. If through this news which is spread, you can achieve knowledge, you are sure that moon is sighted, then it is sufficient. Like tawatur. Because your personal ru'ya is not necessary. You must be sure that it has been sighted. If through Shia, ilm is there, you have knowledge that it has been sighted, that's fine. But وَإِنْ أَفَادَ الظَّنِّ, but if it is not yaqeen, it is dhann, more than 50%, but less than 100 or 99%, because even 99% is itminan, maybe it's okay. We will talk about it. But like 51, 52, 60, 70%, no knowledge is dhann. فَلَا يَكْفِي. It's not sufficient. خِلَافًا لِلْعَلَّامَةِ. Unlike Allama Hilli Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhi. وَيَدُلُّ عَلَىٰ عَدَمِ كِفَايَتِهِ. Why it's not sufficient when it doesn't produce knowledge, when it is just producing a dhann? Why it's not kafi, it's not adequate? Al-akhbar. There are hadiths from which we understand that when knowledge is not achieved, Shia is not enough. One of those hadiths is Sahih of Muhammad ibn Muslim, كصحيحة Muhammad ibn Muslim and Abi Ja'far alayhi salam, from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. إذا رأيتم الهلال فصوموا وإذا رأيتموه فأفطروا. Like what we have in Som للرؤيا وأفطر للرؤيا. When you see hilal, start fasting. Hilal of month of Ramadan. Again, when you see hilal, means hilal of Shawwal, فأفطروا, then stop fasting. وليس بالرأي ولا بالتظني ولكن بالرؤية. This is not a matter of opinion or tavanni, like guessing and thinking and suspicion. No, بالرؤية must be sighted. So from this we can understand that if you don't have knowledge about sighting, is not enough. But this is not the only hadith. كصحيحة محمد ibn Muslim وغيرها. There are other hadiths. But even one hadith is sahih is enough. ومع قطع النظر عنها. Suppose that we don't have any hadith. What is asl? If you have no hadith, what is the ruling? When you are not sure that through this method halal can be established or not. So we should assume that the previous hala condition continues. We are in the month of Sha'ban. We don't know whether we can rely on dhan which comes from Shia or not. We say, okay, we carry on with Sha'ban. We are in the month of Ramadan. We don't know whether we can establish halal of Shawwal or not. Okay, we carry on with months of Ramadan. Basically, we do istishab. وَمَعَ قَطْعِ النَّظَرِ عَنْهَا. Even if we don't have, regardless of hadith that we have. Even we didn't have hadith, يَكْفِينَا عَدَمُ الدَّلِيلِ. It's sufficient for us to say that because we don't have any hujjah for saying that dhan which come from Shia is enough, فَيُتَمَسَّكُ بِالْإِسْتِصْحَابِ. Then we assume that the previous condition is continuing. Okay. وَاسْتَدَلَّ الْعَلَّامَةِ لِكِفَايَتِهِ. We said if it doesn't establish through knowledge, no one accepts except Allama. What is Allama Hilli's view? How he says Shia, even if it doesn't produce knowledge, is enough. استدل العلامة رحمة الله عليه لكفايته. Allama has argued for adequacy of Shia even if it doesn't produce ilm. بأن الظن الحاصل بالشاهدين حاصل من الشيعة. You say if two adil bear witness, we can follow. If there are no two adil, people whose adala is established, it's not that they are liars, but adala is not established, but many people say we have seen, and we come to the same level of probability. Because when two people say we have seen, even if they are adil, you don't become certain. Yeah? If two people, reliable people, say we have seen, you say maybe they made mistake. There is a chance, of course. Bayyana is hujjah, so we disregard that opposite possibility. But you are not sure, you cannot say, Wallahi, this has happened, because two people have said this. No, maybe they made mistake. So, Allama says the same likelihood, the same probability, or even more can happen when there is Shia, the news is spread. And it seems maybe people other than Allama also have the same idea. وَرُبَّمَا يَذْهَلُ ذَلِكَ مِنْ غَيْرِهِ أَيْضًا يعني من غير العلامة. So in the footnote number 2 says كالشهيد الثاني في المسالك مسالك الأفهام مقدس أردبيلي or محقق أردبيلي في مجمع الفائدة etc. خب ويرده. But Sheikh Al-Wali doesn't agree with the argument of Allama, as most of ulama didn't agree. Why? من أنه لا يتم إلا بناء على كون العلة إفادة الشياع للظن وهذا ليس بالثابت بل الثابت عدم. If you say that the dhan is enough, more than 50%, and Shia produce a dhan, then it's okay. But who said that the dhan is enough? Who said that the validity it depends on the dhan? if the dhan is enough, then why we need to say there must be bayyina? Anyway, you come to 51% or more, you can establish that this is beginning of the month of Ramadan, beginning of Shawwal. We don't accept every dhan. In Usul al-Fiqh we say dhan mu'tabar must be a dhan which has decisive reference for its validity. So we never follow dhan. We follow dhan if we have hujjah for its validity. So we are basically following yaqeen. Bayyana doesn't produce yaqeen, but its validity is yaqini. Like taqlid. Taqlid doesn't make me certain that the fatwa of my marja is correct. But I have certainty that taqlid is hujjah. Okay, but the fatwa is not certain. So if dhan was the reason for validity, yes, when Shia produces dhan, it's enough. But then this means that every dhan should be sufficient. وَإِلَّا يَلْزَمُ الْإِكْتِفَاء بِالظَّنِّ الْحَاصِلِ مِنَ الْقَرَائِنِ. Otherwise, we should accept dhan if it comes from evidence, if it is similar to dhan which comes from shahadat adlain, or sometimes even it's kana aqwa if it is higher. For example, instead of 2 adil, if 10 unknown people say something, maybe some people get the same probability or even more. Say 10 people have said this. 2 newspapers, for example, have said this. Newspapers, maybe they are not established to be adil, but you may have the same dhan or more. So for us, just likelihood of dhan is not important. For us, hujjah is important. Of course, Allah may, have other ways of arguing, but what they can think is not enough. So we talked about the ilm al-hasil bil-ru'ya. We talked about tawatur. We talked about shia'. The next one is al-itmi'nan. Itminan means tranquility. But what fuqaha and usuliyun mean by itminan in such cases is when you don't have yaqeen. It's not 100%. But the chance of this not being correct is so little that your nafs doesn't bother, is relaxed. Your nafs is tranquil. We call it itminan. Means, for example, if it is 99.99, yeah, we cannot fix, maybe 99% even is the same, but suppose it's very small chance. So fuqaha normally accept this like ilm, because orf, when they say ilm, they mean this. They mean this and yaqeen, not only yaqeen. ربما يظهر من بعض عدم حجية الإطمئنان. Maybe from some of fuqaha, بعض العلماء, بعض الفقهاء, it appears that they don't accept itminan as something which is hujjah. Why? حيث لم يعده من طرق ثبوت الهلال. Because this faqih, which is Sahib Urwat al-Wusqa, has not counted itminan as one of the ways of establishing crescent or new moon. Also in discussion about how to establish whether someone is mujtahid or not, because marja has to be mujtahid. He has not considered itminan as one of the ways. Or a'lamiyya of mujtahid, he has not mentioned itminan there. Or adala, justice of mujtahid, he has not mentioned itminan. He has mentioned, for example, yaqeen or shahadat adlain, not itminan. كما لم يعده من طرق ثبوت النجاسة. Also, if you have itminan that something has become najas, it has not mentioned that it is enough, that it is najas. هذا ويحتمل عدم الخلاف في حجة. But it is possible that maybe there is no disagreement. He has not mentioned, doesn't mean that he has not accepted. Maybe he considered itminan as ilm. Maybe he didn't need that, feel that there is a need to separately mention itminan, because Urf considers itminan as ilm. So maybe there is no khilaf. بتقريب أن من لم يذكره, whoever has not mentioned itminan, فذلك من جهة كونه مصداقا للعلم العادي. Ordinary knowledge includes this as well. فإن احتمال الخلاف. Why? Because in itminan, the possibility of khilaf, the other side being correct, is very weak. خب when احتمال الخلاف إذا ضعف ولم يعتني به العقلاء don't consider it, don't bother about it, كان المورد مصداقا للعلم العادي, then we can consider it as an ordinary knowledge. ويكون حجة من باب إنه علم. So Sahib Urwa didn't mention itminan, but he has mentioned ilm, and by ilm he meant 100% or itminan. نعم يمكن الحكم بعدم حجيته. Yes, it's possible to say itminan is not hujjah if you have different interpretation of itminan, different understanding of itminan. إذا فسر هو refers to itminan. If itminan is interpreted بالركون النفس الذي يجامع احتمال الخلاف بنحو معتد به. If you say itminan means that my nafs is leaning towards this, leaning towards something doesn't mean that I am I'm certain or almost certain. Even with 80%, 85%, 90%, my nafs would incline towards something. That is not enough. وعلى أية حال يمكن التمسك لحجيته بانعقاد السيرة number one وأدلة البراءة لا تصلح للرد. So on the one hand, we have سيرة متشرعة, سيرة عقلاء, they act upon itminan. So we can argue based on that. And then we don't have any obstacle. There is nothing to stop us. If you say adilliyya bara'a will stop us. Because, for example, if something was clean, you have itminan bin najasa, you should consider it is tahir. Someone says, we say no. Yes, كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه غذر. But itminan is like ilm. براءة is when you have shak. كل شيء لك حلال حتى تعلم أنه. There is no shak here. يمكن التمسك لحجية الإتمنان بانعقاد السيرة. There is سيرة. On the other hand, أدلة البراءة لا تصلح للرد. أدلة البراءة cannot stop us from following sirah. Why? Because of one of the 3 points. Number one, أن الإطمئنان علم بنظر العرف. According to the opinion of common people, إطمئنان is knowledge. والعلم في حديث الرفع. حديث الرفع عن أمتي 9 أشياء. One of them is ما لا يعلمون. ما لا يعلمون علم لا يراد به العلم المنطقي. It's not what is considered as ilm in logic, which is 100%. No. بل العرفي الصادق على الإطمئنان. علم عرفي which is يصدق الصادق على الإطمئنان يصدق يعني can be applied. It is true about إطمئنان. إطمئنان is also علم عرفي. Number 2, أن قوة الردع. If you want to Rada, stop. If you want to stop from hujjiyatul itminan, you need a strong dalil, because this is accepted by uqala and mutasharri'is as powerful. You need something also as strong as that to stop it, or stronger than this to stop it. There must be, this must be proportionate to that. أن قوة الردع لا بد وأن تتناسب مع قوة المردوع عنه. What you want to stop from has power. The power of what wants to stop should be proportionate to that. فلا بد من ردع عنه بعنوانه الخاص. So if you want to stop from itminan, it must be specifically mentioned that itminan is not hujjah. Not to say dhan is not hujjah in a general way. Okay, dhan is not hujjah, but this one is excluded, because according to urf, this is not dhan. Number 3, أنه مع الردع يلزم نصب بديل. Okay, if suppose that there is enough hujjah to say that itminan is to be ignored. What is alternative? Maybe you could say qat', yaqeen. But the reality is that yaqeen rarely happens. Other than you seeing yourself, it's very difficult to say 100%. Even 1 in million doubt is not there. It's very rare. وَالْقَطْعُ لَا يَصْلَحُ لِذَلِكَ. Of course, maybe it's not very rare, but anyway, it's not very common. لِنُدْرَةِ تَحَقُّقِهِ. Certainty 100% rarely happens. وَغَيْرُهُ لَمْ يُنْصَبْ. And we don't have any badil, فَلَا badil, فَلَا رَادْعَ. So if there is no badil, no rad'a, because rad needs badil. Maybe you say, no, we have badil, we have alternative. Okay, what is your alternative? You say, خبر الثقة زواهر إن قلت إن مثل خبر الثقة مثل خبر الواحد. If a reliable person reports, or zawahir, حجية الزواهر. If you say these are badil, we say actually خبر الثقة or zawahir, they themselves are hujjah if itminan is accepted, because the maximum you can say is that this produce itminan. إن حجية مثلهما موقوفة means متوقفة. It depends on حجية الإطمئنان. Why? لأن غاية ما يورث دليل حجيتهما, the maximum that the reference which says خبر الثقة is hujjah, zawahir is hujjah, the maximum is what? Is itminan. They say because it leads to itminan, itminan is hujjah. They cannot say the yaqeen. فَلَا يَصْلَحَانِ بَدِيلًا. So these two cannot be alternative for itminan, because they depend on itminan. We talked about roya, we talked about tawatur, we talked about shia', we talked about itminan. The next, shahadatu adlain. If 2 just witnesses offer their testimony, المشهور حجية شهادة عدلين في إثبات الهلال. Why we say مشهور? Because there is another opinion. قيل تقبل, يعني تقبل الشهادة عدلين مع العلة الخاصة. If there is a problem, if there is an issue that doesn't lead to everyone seeing the moon. For example, there is ghaim, there is cloud, sahab, ghaim, sahab, cloud. In the city, people were not able to see. 2 people from outside come and they say, we saw it outside, because over there the sky was clear. Va'illa, if there is no illa, a specific reason, in the city, sky is clear, 2 people say we have seen The whole inhabitants of city say we haven't seen. Some ulama say no, 2 is not enough here. 50 people should say. وَإِلَّا فَيُعْتَبَرُ خَمْسُونَ وَقِيلَ غَيْرُ ذَلِكَ. There are also other opinions. So mashhur is that shahadatu adlain is enough in all circumstances. There are other opinions as well. خب. Now let's see the argument. الكلام يقع تارة في حجية البينة عموما. Sometimes discussion is whether shahadatu adlain generally is hujjah in our sharia or not. عموما. So one way of discussing is to establish that عموما in all different chapters of fiqh, bayyana is hujjah. This is to discuss. وأنه هل تستفاد من مثل قوله إنما أقضي بينكم بالبينات والأيمان الحجية في كل مورد إلا ما خرج. For example, we have hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I judge among you according to bayyanat and yamin. Sometimes, for example, is munkar, makes qasam. If he's mudda'i, he has to bring bayyana. Can we understand from this that in all cases we act according to bayyana unless it is proved otherwise? So this is about qadha, kitab al-qadha is about judging. But can we say in sharia bayyana is hujjah except if there is a strong evidence to suggest otherwise? So, okay, this is one discussion. Another discussion or way to discuss وأخرى في حجيتها يعني حجية البينة في ثبوت الهلال بالخصوص. So there are 2 ways. One is to talk about bayyana in fiqh in general. Another is to talk about hujjiyah of bayyana in this specific question that we have about establishing new moon. So there are 2 ways to discuss in 2 different levels. أما حجيتها إن حجية البينة عموما فقد تقدم البحث عنها في الدروس التمهيدية. So in the previous book this has been discussed. Specifically also, especially in addition to that, we don't need now to go into that discussion. Why? Because we have a specific evidence for hujjiyatul bayyana in hilal. This is when we have this, we don't need to discuss about the general. مضافا إلى عدم الحاجة إلى البحث عنها يعني عن حجية البينة مع وجود الروايات الخاصة, when we have a specific hadith about hilal and bayyana being valid for hilal. Yes, if these 2 were against each other, for example, we had hadith that bayyana is not hujjah and here says hujjah, then we needed to discuss. But generally we say it's hujjah. Specifically also we say it is hujjah. أما الروايات الخاصة, the hadiths which are specifically about hujjiyatul bayyana fil hilal, فلعلها تبلغ 5. Maybe there are 5, maybe there are more, but at least he knows 5. One of them is this: من قبيل صحيحة حماد بن عثمان عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام, from Imam Sadiq عليه السلام. According to this hadith, قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام لا تجوز شهادة النساء في الهلال ولا تجوز إلا شهادة رجلين عدلين. If a woman bears witness, no, for halal. But if 2 just men bear witness, then it is accepted. Okay? So this discussion, why, for example, shahada of, in certain issues, of course, shahada of women are accepted, but generally speaking, if it is, for example, for men is 2, for women might not be accepted because women were supposed not to be involved in such things and bring them to bear witness in front of men, etc. So this is a discussion that we need to discuss it in another place. Anyway, our point of reference is لا تجوز إلا شهادة رجلين عدلين. It's understandable that if there are two adil people, it can be accepted. So this is one of those five which says shahadatul adlain fil hilal is possible. It's specifically about hilal. But we have also conflicting hadith. لكنها معارضة بروايات عدة وهي. We have conflicting hadith. For example, the first hadith, which is again Sahihah, because remember, we said in Usul al-Fiqh, ta'aruz is between two reliable, for example, Sahihah. Because if one is Sahihah, the other one is not reliable, there is no ta'aruz. We go by the one which is Sahih. When both are valid, but they conflict in their content, that is ta'aruz. Sahihatu Abi Ayyub al-Khazzaz and Abi Abdullah alayhi salam. قلت له كم يجزي في رؤية الهلال. How many would be sufficient about citing the crescent? فقال, according to Imam alayhi salam said, إن شهر رمضان فريضة من فرائض الله فلا تؤد بالتظني. This is one of the obligations that Allah has made. Don't do it according to guessing and speculation. ليس رؤية الهلال أن يقوم عدة فيقول واحد قد رأيته ويقول آخرون لم نره. Sighting of the crescent is not a matter of one person says I have seen and others say we have not seen. إذا رآه واحد رآه مئة. If one person has seen in the city, for example, a village, so 100 people should have seen it. If 100 people have seen it, 1,000 people should have seen it. ولا يجزي في رؤية الهلال إذا لم تكن في السماء علة أقل من شهادة 50. If there is no cloud, then less than 50 is not enough. How can in a city just one or two people have seen? وَإِذَا كَانَتْ فِي السَّمَاءِ عِلَّةٌ. But if there is cloud, قُبِلَتْ شَهَادَةُ رَجُلَيْنِ. Testimony of two people is accepted, but how? يَدْخُلَانِ وَيَخْرُجَانِ مِنْ مِثْلِ. Two people who have come from outside, they are not from this city, they say, we have seen it outside. Yes. Otherwise, people of city, most of them should have seen it. خب this صحیح حصرت حجیت البینه بما اذا کان فی السماء علتون. The previous Sahih was saying it's hujjah. Amir al-Mu'minin was quoted, لا تجوز إلا شهادة رجلين عدلين. But here it has made restricted hujjat al-bayinah to when there is cloud. Something like cloud, a problem. خب وعلى من والا, similar to this, Sahihah against Sahih Muhammad. That one was also from Muhammad al-Muslim, from Amir Imam Sadiq and Amir. Sorry, it was Hamad ibn Usman and Abi Abdullah. Because Muhammad al-Muslim was before, from Imam Baqir. ومنها على من والا صحيحة محمد ibn Muslim and Abi Ja'far alayhi salam. إذا رأيتم الهلال فصوموا وإذا رأيتموه فأفطروا. يعني صوم للرؤيا فأفطر. This is what we quoted before. Was here on the page 466, we had this hadith. سيد محمد بن حسن أبي جعفر إذا رأيتم الهلال فصوموا وإذا رأيتموه فأفطروا وليس بالرأي ولا بالتظني ولكن بالرؤيا. The same hadith we had before. Okay. خب. But it has continuity. والرؤية ليس أن يقوم عشرة فينظروا فيقول واحد هو ذا هو وينظر تسعة فلا يرونه. What we mean by ru'ya is not that 10 people stand up and they look at the sky, one person says, I see it, 9 people say, we don't see it. No, it should be clear. إذا رآه واحد رآه عشرة آلاف. If one person can see, 10,000 people can see. وإذا كان علة فأتم شعبان ثلاثين. If there is a problem that they cannot see, then they continue the last day and Sha'ban becomes 30. Because you cannot have more than 30. Yeah? So Yawm al-Shak is either 30th of Sha'ban or 1st of Ramadan. We continue with Sha'ban, we say it is 30th of Sha'ban. خب, what should we do now when we have ta'arus? يمكن الجواب بأنهما, these two, which say, if one person says, 10,000 people should see or 100 people should see, بأنهما تدلان على اختصاص حجية البينة بما إذا لم تكن في البين أمارة مورثة للإطمئنان بالخلاف فإن الجو إذا كانت سهوا فرؤية اثنين تورثه. Maybe we can say, if there is no amara means sign, if there is no evidence which leads to itminan, إذا لم تكن في البين أمارة مورثة للإطمئنان بالخلاف. If there is no amara which leads to itminan, that the opposite correct, then we go for bayyana. For example, if the sky is clear and 2 people see it who are adil, we can accept. But a sky is not clear, no one can see anything, and just 2 people say we have seen it, and the sky is not clear, then no, here it's not possible. So maybe these 2 hadiths were considering the cases that we knew that 99% it was not correct. The bayyana, those 2 adil were not right. 2. This 2 is another conflict. So, لكنها معارضة بالروايات عدة. One is first Sahih Abi Ayyub, similar to Sahih, very similar in wording, Muhammad ibn Muslim. That's in concept similar. This one, the second one, which is again mentioned for ta'aruz, is muwathaqa, not sahiha. Muwathaqa is when there is someone who is not adl imami, but it's known to be a reliable person and from other mazahib. One person, at least in the chain, is not adl imami, but is reliable non-Shi. Muwathaqatu Abdullah ibn Bukair and Abi Abdullah alayhi salam, sum lil-ru'ya wa aftir lil-ru'ya. وليست رؤية الهلال أن يجيء الرجل والرجلان فيقولان رأينا. When we say to be sighted, either you see it yourself or many people, not that one person, 2 people come and say we saw. إنما الرؤية أن يقول القائل رأيت فيقول القوم صدقة. What we mean by رؤية is that one person says I saw it and other people then say yes. They can also, verify. Again, Sheikh Al-Bani says we can say the same answer. الجواب ما تقدم. فإن القوم لا يقولون الصدقة. People don't say that person or 2 people who said we saw. People don't say they are right. فيما لو كان الجو سحبا. When a sky is clear and only two people say we have seen it, other people say a sky is clear, we don't see it, they don't accept from them. وإنما يقولون ذلك فيما إذا لم تكن أمارة نوعية من هذا القبيل. So then they would not accept because a sky is clear and only two people have claimed, and there is no amara, there is no evidence to support them. 3. رواية حبيب الخزاعي. Maybe we can stop here because it's not going to finish and the time already is over. So inshallah we continue with other ahadith muta'ariz, and then inshallah after this discussion finishes, we have some also important discussions about, for example, is it possible to see with the equipped eye or not? What about astronomers, saying something based on calculation? Inshallah, we will have all these discussions, inshallah, in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Is there any question?
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. And we'll see if anybody has any questions. Not seeing any currently. Just thank you,